Hello yogins, welcome back to the channel. Today I'd like to talk about great doubt and great faith. Before I get into that, I do want to thank all of my patrons on Patreon and everyone who has contributed via PayPal and Venmo. You help keep this community together, and this community is growing into a national or even international community. I've gotten comments from other parts of the world like India, which is a beautiful thing. So I love being able to share my experience and with spirituality and yoga with everybody in the hopes that it helps and benefits them. So you, the patrons, the people who support me financially, help make this possible, so thank you. So today we're going to talk about great doubt and great faith, and these are the same thing. In Zen, we have a saying that where there is great doubt, there is great faith, and these are the same. We might think that when things are going our way, and when things like science and logic point to our success, that, then we have faith. There's no faith in that. Our mind is telling us we're going to succeed. Everything in the world and other people are telling us we're going to succeed. There's no room for faith. There's zero room for faith in that. So it's really when things look darkest, when we have the most doubt, when logic, our rational mind, and maybe science and other people and society are telling us that we are doomed. We are not going to succeed. We are vanquished from the divine. That is really when faith starts. That is really a test of our faith. Now, when I'm using that word faith, I want to be very careful because I have to distinguish between real faith and what's called blind faith. Okay? So blind faith is when maybe we read a scripture and we don't understand it, or we hear a sermon and we don't get it, we don't understand it, or we don't believe it, and we question, and someone says, well, you just have to have faith. Just believe that what I say is true. This is called blind faith, and this is not what I'm really talking about. True faith is when we hear a talk, maybe like this one, or we read a scripture, and something is said in the scripture or in the talk, and something inside of us moves. Something inside of us responds. Something inside of us says, there is truth in this. And that is faith. That is true faith. Something inside of us resonates and recognizes what is being said. It's almost like remembering. So when we hear a spiritual talk and we're ready to hear the truth of that talk, or we read a scripture and we're ready to hear the truth of what the scripture says, there is a aha, yes, a type of remembering. And again, this elicits faith from within us. There is something in us that recognizes the truth, even though that may not yet be our experience. Our experience is very much colored by what we can call perception. And our perception is created by our ideas and our beliefs about the world. So if I believe the world is a scary, dangerous place, that's going to be my experience. That is going to be my perception. You could say that would be my truth. In reality, truth is just one. There isn't many truths, and that's something that I like to address, because in the New Age, kind of this spirituality that is prevalent in America, that's very loose and lots of different ideas, mixing of yoga philosophy and Taoist philosophy and different things, which can be very beautiful and very powerful, but it can also lead to a lot of misperception, spiritual misperception. And so oftentimes there's people that say, oh, my truth is this or that. Really what you're saying is my perception or my experience is. It's not, truth is one. There is one truth. And it really cannot be spoken, you might say. So we can have different perspectives on truth, we can have different perceptions, but the truth is ultimately beyond words. That's the way that I define it, the way I like to speak about it. So, great doubt and great faith. It really is when we are being challenged by life, when we're not sure what we're supposed to be doing, we're not sure what the right path is, what the right direction is. This is when faith actually arises. This is when we can actually practice faith. And it is a practice. It's not just something that we either have or we don't have. This is something that we can cultivate. Just like grace. Grace is very much the same way. We can make ourselves open to grace. We can allow grace into our lives. Versus when we take the egoic path, which is the misconception that I'm a separate being and that I do things of my own power and I need to make things happen. I need to make the right choice. I need to do the right thing. And it's very stressful being an ego. It's very stressful being a separate self. It's very stressful having that burden on us. This idea that I have to do it. I have to keep myself safe. I have to make the right decisions. I have to protect my children. When in reality, this isn't really the case. The whole universe conspires to make things happen. The whole universe is our big self, our true nature. But again, as human beings, due to confusion, what in yoga is called avidya, we experience ourselves as a very limited small self, and we also believe that we are the doer. We have to take the action. So when things are good, very often we're not that interested in spirituality, unfortunately, and this is not a good thing. I really recommend that when things are going well, you double down on your spirituality, your practices, you really dive deep, so that when things get tough, you'll already have cultivated spiritual strength, you might say, and it makes those difficult times much easier to endure. But human beings being the way that they are, very often we aren't that interested in spirituality when things seem to be going well. Again, there really isn't much place for faith. We think, I'm beautiful, I'm talented, I'm young, everything's going my way, I'll figure it out, life's great, I've got lots of money, or I'm going to make lots of money. This is often why my teaching doesn't always land with people who are very young. I often find that younger students of mine are people who have been traumatized. They've been through difficult situations in life, and they've realized that life can really throw you a curveball and it can be very difficult. So again, from a spiritual perspective, difficulty is often a blessing and not a curse, especially if it makes us interested in spiritual truth. So it's when we are most challenged, when things look the darkest from the perspective of the ego, that's really when we have the opportunity to practice faith and cultivate faith. And again, it might be a passage in a scripture that gives us faith. So one of my favorite scriptures is the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the teachings that I find most powerful is to perform action without attachment to the fruits of the actions. So for instance, I share these teachings online. And wouldn't it be great if these teachings found a huge audience and one of my videos went viral and lots of people saw it and recognized a truth in it and liked it and subscribed to the channel and joined my Patreon page? Wouldn't that be wonderful? But that hasn't happened, and it's doubtful that it ever will happen. So I could say, well, forget it. What's the point? I'm just going to stop teaching. No one is appreciating what I'm doing, or a few people are. but not enough. I'm not being recognized. Well, then I stop performing the action because of the fruits, because I expect admiration, or I expect people to get it. I expect people to understand. I expect people to support me. So this is expecting something and doing something for the fruits, which is what most of us do. We go to work because we expect to get paid. We maybe play music because we expect other people to admire our talent. This is a mistake from a spiritual perspective. What we feel called to do and what we feel inspired to do, inspire in spirit. That's very important. What we feel in spirit, inspired to do, we should do without attachment to the outcomes of the action. And this is not at all what the world teaches us. This is not what materialism teaches us. This is not what logic teaches us. So I continue making these videos, I continue teaching, I continue sharing, no matter how small the audience is. And it's wonderful when people leave comments or tell me that they're getting something from these videos. It is really a beautiful thing. But I share anyway. I experienced some very powerful things due to spirituality in my own life. Really changed my life for the better. And I'm a much happier person today because of that. And I'm able to spread that and share that with others. And so it's nice to be able to share what I've learned in the hopes that it will help someone else. And that really is the inspiration behind what I do. So that's a scripture that gives me a lot of strength and a lot of motivation, especially when things get dark. And so again, that's the kind of faith that when things don't seem to be going well, when people are not recognizing perhaps what I'm trying to share, maybe people are even getting angry. I've had that happen before, where people get upset with what I'm saying. And it's not at all what I'm intending. I'm not intending to upset anybody, but I am trying to share a very specific thing. And so some people get it, some people don't. That's just the way anything is in life. And so it's easy to get discouraged. And so at those times, that's when I turn to these teachings. And I try and really remember to have faith. And it doesn't mean that one day I'm going to get a lot of money, or everyone's going to get it, or my video is going to be viral. That's not what that means. It just means having faith in the path and that inspiration and following that regardless of the outcomes. Again, that's what the Bhagavad Gita is teaching from my perspective. That's what I've gotten, one of the things I've gotten from the Gita. There's a lot in there, obviously. But any scripture that you feel that sense of faith, that recognition, it could be A Course in Miracles, it could be the Bible, it could be the Quran, it could be a Zen text, the Lotus Sutra. You might read something. In the Lotus Sutra, there are many phrases where they say that all you have to do is read one line from the Lotus Sutra, and enlightenment is all but ensured. And that's something that can be very inspiring and that we can also take faith in. So we might read the Lotus Sutra with the idea that if I just keep reading this, if I keep believing in the power of the scripture, it will liberate me from the tyranny of the ego and the idea, the avidya, the confusion of the separate self. So anyway, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this. Hope the thunder and lightning wasn't too loud. If you did enjoy it, again, if you're on YouTube, just giving a thumbs up and subscribing, commenting, all of those things do help spread the video to other people who might get something from it. And if, again, you're a patron on Patreon, if you've donated via Venmo or PayPal, thank you so much. You really do help support this teaching and the community. So thank you. Everyone, please let me know if there are any questions. Let me know if there's any way that I can assist you as a teacher. Until next time, have a good day and namaste.